What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the first decentralized digital currency. Bitcoins are digital coins you can send through the internet. Compared to other alternatives, Bitcoins have a number of advantages. Bitcoins are transferred directly from person to person via the net, without going through a bank or clearinghouse. This means that the fees are much lower. You can use them in every country. Your account cannot be frozen, and there are no prerequisites or arbitrary limits. Let's look at how it works. Several currency exchanges exist where you can buy and sell Bitcoins for dollars, euros, and more. Your Bitcoins are kept in your digital wallet on your computer or mobile device. Sending Bitcoins is as simple as sending an email, and you can purchase anything with Bitcoin. The Bitcoin network is secured by individuals called miners. Miners are rewarded newly generated Bitcoins for verifying transactions. After transactions are verified, they are recorded in a transparent public ledger. Bitcoin opens up a whole new platform for innovation. The software is completely open source and anyone can review the code. Bitcoin is changing finance the same way the web changed publishing. When everyone has access to a global market, great ideas flourish. Bitcoins are a great way for businesses to minimize transaction fees. It doesn't cost anything to start accepting them, and it's easy to set up. There are no chargebacks, and you'll get additional business from the Bitcoin economy. For more information about Bitcoin, visit weusecoins.com.
In this video, I'll show you how to buy Bitcoins using PayPal, using the CoinPal service. First, go to coinpal.indrix.com and you'll be presented with this order form. In order to make a purchase, you have to have a verified PayPal account. So I'll enter my verified PayPal email address in the form. And then I'll confirm my email address by entering it again. I want to buy 10 Bitcoins, and I'll enter my Bitcoin receiving address there. I click continue. It presents me with the details of my order. So the exchange rate right now is 30 cents for 10 Bitcoins. That's the purchase price. PayPal is going to charge 39 cents in fees, so those are passed through to you. Then a convenience fee for using the service, the grand total, and the effective exchange rate for this purchase. That all looks good to me. I'll click continue. Now it tells me that they sent me an email, so I'll go look on my email. There it is. And there's this link here. For the sake of the demo, I'm going to copy and paste my confirmation link back to my other screen here. So I confirm my email. It shows me the details, 10 Bitcoins for $3.48. Yeah, that's right. That's what I agreed to before. Click Buy Now. This will take me to the PayPal checkout page. And I'll log in with my PayPal account that I used to create the order. It confirms my details here. You are required to provide a contact phone number. This is in case there are problems with the order, and also to help prevent fraud. That all looks good to me, so I'll click the Pay Now button. So PayPal confirms that the payment was sent correctly, and that all looks good. So I'm going to return to the main page and see the status of my order. So it looks like they've received the payment. Now they're just running some verification steps. So we'll come back once those verification steps are finished. So I waited about 2 minutes, and I received an email telling me that my Bitcoins have shipped. And it gives me the exact Bitcoin transaction ID in case I want to check it on Block Explorer or whatever. Anyway, if I refresh the status page, you'll see that my Bitcoins have shipped. If I click this link, it'll show me the transaction on Block Explorer. Of course, I can also check in my Bitcoin client and see that the coins have shipped. Once I wait for a few confirmations, then I can spend the Bitcoins however I please. So, hope you enjoyed the brief demo of CoinPal. Give it a try at coinpal.endrix.com.
Good afternoon, everyone. Time for another Bitcoin report. You are watching a crash in real time. We are down to 4.8, 4.6, 4.5, 4.4. I've been watching this since about 17. I've not seen a single uptick in this market. It's going straight down. I would be fascinated to know what news is associated with this. I'm sure we're going to find out. 3.5, 3.3, 3.2, and 3.1. Well, I'm all broken up about my $99. The main thing I'm broken up about is I could have had 33 Bitcoins. So we're going to see how low this thing goes. We're down to 2.2. And it looks like the Mt. Gox feed crashed. We are still crashing. We're at 2. And this has got to be some kind of news about Mt. Gox. Possibly that it's closed down. I don't know. We're getting feed crashes at this point. We're at 1.5. We're at 1.4. 1.3. Looks like we're going to go under $1 here. This has got to be accompanied by some kind of news. I'm going to wait until the market settles down here and go and look for some news. We are down to 1. And we're trying to go under 1. Notice I have not seen a positive tick. Since this began at 17, every single tick has been flat or negative. Now these are green, but the reds are sells, the greens are buys. Here we go. We're at 91 cents. We're at 90 cents. We are going all the way down. This is wild. We are down to 70 cents, 60 cents. This is the flash crash in Bitcoins. We are down to 50 cents a coin. I cannot imagine what news is accompanying to this. We're at 29 cents. We're off the charts. And here we go. We lost the Mt. Gox feed again. We still have not seen one buy. We're down to 12 cents, 11 cents, 10 cents. Wow, this is it. Feed gone again. We are down to 10 cents. We're down to 9 cents, 6 cents. We are going 5 cents. We are down to, wow. I don't know what this means, people. We are down to 1 cent. There's still no buying. Could the critics have been correct? Has the system been hacked? I don't know. We are flatlining at 1.2 cent a Bitcoin, and they're selling. People are selling 0.03 Bitcoins for less than 1 cent. I'm not really sure how that is. This is going to be the biggest story ever, and I'm just really glad to be covering this in real time. We are at, okay, now this is the first rally I've seen. There's a 70 cent tick, and well, it's not reflected on the chart. Let me see if it's reflected on the 5-minute chart. Looks like a complete washout. Down to 1 cent, they have washed everybody out. And not surprising that our charting is crashing. People, we touched 1 cent. Absolutely incredible. Incredible. Something so huge has happened with the Bitcoin. I don't know what it is. but I will try to find out. Let's jump over to, well, we're just crashing. We can't even keep the system up. Let's jump over to the Bitcoin forum and see if anybody knows anything. Someone's cashing out the motherload on Mt. Gox. Huge sell-off, order not possible on Mt. Gox. Satoshi running with his money. Interesting. Let's see here. And 1 cent. That's right, people. 1 cent. Now we're back up to $1. So this appears, is that $2 and $1? I wish my charting software was working, but it doesn't seem to be working at all. The bad ticks are just coming like crazy. It looks like a complete washout. Now, I haven't studied before to see if Mt. Gox has the buy limit orders, lock book buy sell limit orders. So now we're getting $13. This looks like a flash crash. So I don't know what's going on at Mt. Gox. This is just craziness. Okay, our 10 minutes shows us nothing. It looks like our data has completely crashed. We're back up to 14. It looks like we may have had a flash crash on Mt. Gox. Let me kill the feed and restart it. And I'm not seeing any historical data come in. There we go. 14. It's looking like a flash crash, people. Really bizarre. Let me see if I can get into Mt. Gox. Mt. Gox shows the crash. Negative 1.8. That's great. So I guess you owe them money. Fantastic. We're back to $14. This is crazy. I may end up pulling my bitcoins off of here. My 6.16 bitcoins. We may be looking at some kind of scam going on. It may not have to do with bitcoins. It may actually have to do with the Mt. Gox site. So you can see our flash crash in bitcoins. It looks like we went to 1 cent. So I hope nobody had any limit orders on Mt. Gox, because if you do, they just took all your coins. And that ought to tell you about trading with limit orders and stops, because the way that works is that in a flash crash, and that happened in the May flash crash in the stock market, there were stocks that flashed to a penny and flashed back up. And of course, that's never been sufficiently investigated. So this is an ongoing one, people. I may have to cover this again tonight. But we had a flash crash to 1 penny on Mt. Gox in the Bitcoin. We're back up now to 15. And this is craziness. But I will let you know when I find out. Talk to you next time.
Mr. Bitcoin, bring me money. Give me a chance about this economy. Give me a sign, cause I just lost all my clovers. The US dollar's dropping fast, it's almost over. Mr. Bitcoin, we're all alone. China owns our asses, they own all our homes. So please rise fast on Bitcoin, please. Mr. Bitcoin, bring me money.
All the files that I believed I needed were already on my new computer. The drive was in a drawer on its own after an incident with a previous laptop. and I'd thought that I'd taken off everything I needed.
Any hesitation, any moments before you chucked it in with the boxes and the bottles to bring down?
As soon as I put it in the bin at home, I had a second thought, in the back of my mind. You've never thrown a hard drive out before. Why start now? You shouldn't do this, sort of thing. A little demon in the back of my head, sort of thing. But yeah, I didn't take it out. It stayed in the bin and then came down to the landfill site here with the other bags that I brought. You
brought the bags down, you threw them in there, didn't think twice before driving off. When did the penny drop that actually what you'd thrown away was worth a fortune?
When I started to hear stories of the Silk Road shut down and obviously other individuals making their profits and their millions, the penny dropped then, that I had 7,500 bitcoins on a hard drive that I'd thrown out a few months ago.
So for people who don't understand virtual currencies, they wouldn't have thought it's a problem throwing away a hard drive. But to get your money, you would need that hard drive.
Yeah, there's a specific file on that hard drive called a wallet file, which the Bitcoin is stored in. And without that file, there is no way of getting the money back because there is no central server that records a log of it.
You've spoken to the manager here. They've been very nice to you. They've driven you around, but they've warned you there's absolutely zero chance of finding it?
Basically, yeah. I came down yesterday morning to find out what the process was. I thought that maybe the individual bags may have been sorted and that the actual drive itself may have been, put aside into a, computer waste bin that I could maybe look through. But when I arrived yesterday, they basically told me that anything that goes into the household scrap bin is compressed and buried.
James, I'm sure there's an awful lot of people feeling for you right now. How do you feel stood here?
Well, absolutely devastated, as you can imagine. I just wish I could go back in time and not throw that drive away.
I'm told the landfill site, well, you've seen it, is about, 1 or 2 football pitch sizes. Is there any temptation to maybe send out a search party, go digging?
To be perfectly honest, I don't have the resources, the funds or the manpower to start that, especially without the guarantee of, receiving money at the end, because, as you know, we're on a landfill site. There are many other sort of substances that are thrown in with that as well. So, there's a potential to find the drive. Is it still working? Can the data be recovered? I have no idea. When I went up to the landfill site yesterday, my first thought was, I've got no chance.
A lot of people talk about Bitcoin as a new kind of currency, but ignore that talk. Bitcoin is a crappy currency. Dollars are a good currency. The real revolution of Bitcoin is as a new kind of payment network, something like Visa or PayPal. Those conventional payment systems are owned and operated by for-profit companies. But Bitcoin isn't. There's no Bitcoin, the company. Instead, Bitcoin is run as a peer-to-peer network. Computers on the Bitcoin network process Bitcoin transactions by adding them to a shared public register. They call that the blockchain. All the computers keep it together. It's as if we were all keeping Visa's records up to date together as some kind of weird volunteer project. You're probably wondering, well, what's the point? Why not just pay for things with PayPal or MasterCard like a normal person? And it's a good question, but Bitcoin has one big advantage over conventional payment networks. It's an open platform. To become a MasterCard merchant, you have to apply for permission, pay a lot of fees to MasterCard, comply with hundreds of pages of regulation. Bitcoin is different. Anyone can use it. It's free, and there are no rules limiting what Bitcoin-based services can do. An open technology platform like this can become a hotbed of innovation. Think about the internet. People were as baffled by the internet in the 1980s as they are about Bitcoin today. The internet was unusable then. It seemed ridiculous that anybody would ever find anything useful to do on it. Eventually, that freedom allowed people to build great companies like Amazon and Google and Facebook. The buzzword here is permissionless innovation. You can do cool things without any central authority being able to tell you no. In the same way, Bitcoin can become a platform for building a new generation of financial services, like international money transfers that are faster and cheaper than Western Union, better security for everyday purchases, and perhaps new services that aren't even possible with conventional payment networks. We don't know what this stuff will be, but now that Bitcoin is here, we're going to find out.
I think we're at a defining moment in the financial system. A lot of people have said the revolution has occurred. I'm not so sure that it's occurred yet, but it has the potential to be there. Today, banks are really at the heart of the financial system. Without banks, it'd be very difficult to make payments, it'd be very difficult to create credit, it'd be very difficult to create money. But recently, we've seen a lot of technological disruptors enter financial services. So examples would include not only digital currencies like Bitcoin, but also peer-to-peer lenders, crowdsource, funding, and a whole variety of other innovations that people are coming up with as ways to not use deposits to fund lending. So Bitcoin is this unusual creature because we're not exactly sure who created it or exactly when it was created. It's really a series of protocols about how one person or entity can make a transaction with another. Banks are classic intermediaries. They're there between two people who are making payments. What Bitcoin allows is for that intermediary to no longer have to be there. If the central bank in your country is behaving badly, then you want to try to find some alternative. So in Argentina, when the central bank is creating a lot of inflation and make it very difficult to make payments and putting on all sorts of controls, Bitcoin is a terrific alternative. In most other countries, the central banks aren't behaving that badly, and so it doesn't provide that important of an alternative. But it does put a discipline on central banks. If they behave badly, there's this easy alternative for people to turn to. It so far hasn't really taken off as a unit of account, medium of exchange, store of value, the classic things we associate with money, but it has the potential to do so. One of the potential revolutionary aspects of all this innovation is that banks shouldn't think of themselves as financial institutions, but really data analytics companies. And so anyone who might have the data to be able to do credit analysis and who might also have access to financing, like a Google or Amazon who can issue debt in the public markets, could now provide credit and could now do credit scoring and figure out who should be getting credit and who shouldn't on a profitable basis. And so it's quite possible that some very large tech firm could use information about the kinds of things that you purchase, the kinds of things that you do searches for, even your location, to provide a lot more information to a lender to say, hey, this person is a good credit. The question is, one, how much value is in that additional information? And two, how much are we willing to give up on our privacy to say, okay, I'm going to give you that information so I can try to get a better effective credit score and so more access to credit. And so I think this is a real call to arms for banks to rethink the way they operate, that they really should be data analytics firms who happen to be providing finance, because it's going to be that firms that have a lot of data about people are going to be entering finance, and banks better be prepared for that. Otherwise, banks may not be around for very long.
Imagine a country where everything that's new in the digital world is not only tested but also implemented. Where the internet is a basic human right and where everyone has a virtual presence. Well, this country exists and it's called Estonia.
Programmers and cryptographers have looked at it and have given it their seal of approval. And as Mr. Merck said, more than half of the code base has been written by others than Satoshi at this point. So, I'm pretty confident that the software is what it says on the tin.
Okay, jeg skal til at betale min husleje i bitcoin, og så er betalingen sket. Det var det. Nu får udlejer det eksakte beløb i danske kroner udbetalt i banken i morgen.
A company in Sweden has unveiled Europe's first Bitcoin ATM. The machine allows people to exchange cash in their country's currency to Bitcoins on their mobile wallet. The machine will first be placed in central Stockholm.
You can now trade Bitcoin in the Korean won too through Corbett, Korea's Bitcoin exchange market launched in July, and buy merchandise with the virtual currency.
Ja, ik weet wat een bitcoin is. Digitaal online munt.
Een digitale munteenheid.
Ja, het heeft te maken met computers.
Ja, wel van gehoord. De toekomst te betalen.
Here in Helsinki underground, we are next to the store that has first ATM for bitcoins. This is located in underground Helsinki.
Or at least clarifying the right of an individual to make a choice in the currency they use as a consumer and to affirm the legality of using digital currencies in all forms of commerce as entirely equivalent with any other national currency.
What price are you offering Bitcoin?
So at the moment it's £550 per Bitcoin.
From burger bars in Shoreditch to pubs in Hackney, Bitcoin payments are now being accepted across London.
Well, whether it's a passing fad or the currency of the future, Bitcoins are set to become more prominent in Australia. A growing number of businesses are beginning to accept them, while over the coming weeks, the first Bitcoin ATMs will be rolled out across the country.
The new evolutionary paradigm will give us the human traits of truth, of loyalty, of justice, of freedom. These will be manifestations of the new evolution. And that is what we would hope to see from this. That would be nice.
Bitcoin and things like it is the equivalent of the red pill. Okay? We are entering a completely world of uncharted water right now.
Have you made any investments in Bitcoin?
So, I mean, I personally, I own Bitcoin in my hedge fund. I own Bitcoin in my fund. I own Bitcoin in my private account. It is a huge deal. It's a huge, huge, huge deal. Because what you're talking about right now is for the next 3 to 5 years, an unbelievably better store of value. It is gold 2.0.
I think this is a currency that's really going to work eventually.
Well, I think it is working, and there will be other currencies like it that may be even better. But in the meantime, there's a big industry around Bitcoin, and people have made fortunes out of Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, there is no Bitcoin company, there is no Bitcoin building, there's not even a Bitcoin server anywhere that you could shut down. It is completely distributed. That's what's unique about Bitcoin. It is, for the first time, a way for the two of us to exchange value online without a third-party intermediary. Until the invention of Bitcoin, for you and me to exchange money online, we had to employ a third party, like PayPal, like Visa, like MasterCard, right? And we live in the 21st century. If we want to have a video call to China, we can do that for free. But to send a couple $100, which is essentially just ones and zeros being moved around, costs 5% plus takes over a day.
Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place. And of course, for large transactions, currency can get pretty inconvenient.
You'll see Bitcoin trading at 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. Rick Falkvinia does an excellent analysis. He predicts that Bitcoin will capture between 1 and 10% of the global Forex market, which implies a price of between $100,000 to $1 million per Bitcoin. Most of the people who are on the sidelines not buying Bitcoin today will start to buy Bitcoin when it gets over 1,000, and then a greater percentage of people will definitely plow into Bitcoin when it starts to get over 10,000.
It's still predicting Bitcoin $10,000 per Bitcoin in 3 years.
Casares, he is the CEO of Zappo, which is a Bitcoin wallet and Bitcoin vault.
I think it's mostly a very positive thing. I think we're going to see ups and downs like with any other emerging technology, but I think Bitcoin is here to stay, and it makes sense that it be taxed and treated like any other.
So let's make a bold call here. In 10 years, what do you think Bitcoin will be worth? One Bitcoin?
Between $500,000 and $1 million.
I suggest that everyone go back to buy one Bitcoin. Not too much, only one is enough. If everyone in this world, people, just to go back buy one Bitcoin, the Bitcoin value go to the $1 million. And when the Bitcoin have $1 million, all around the world will be crazy. And everyone will be the follow, and the other digital currency just to be be grandson of the Bitcoin. So for me, I think for a lot of people, they don't exactly understand why it's Bitcoin.
Is Bitcoin the currency of the future, or is it the payment system they're developing?
Bingo! It's the payment system. It's the blockchain encryption, and they're interesting things. I think Bitcoin, or the really blockchain encryption that's behind it, has a greater ability to bring more of the world's population out of poverty than anything we've seen.
If you're new to Bitcoin, take your time to go out there and Google it and learn about it. It truly is one of the most important inventions in the history of humankind, and certainly the most important invention since the internet. Go out there, make a Bitcoin wallet, get involved, start using it, learn about all the positive ways in which this is going to improve the lives of every single person on the planet. Get involved, do it today. It's going to help everybody. Thank you.
The big event that's coming up next year is the so-called halvening, where the block reward is going to shrink. It happens every 4 years. Some people think that the diminished new supply of the coins will mean supply and demand equation improves. What's your guess for whether this proves to be a major catalyst next year?
I think it's a big milestone. It happens every 4 years. People look forward to it. But the trick there is that we know when it happens.
Right.
And that, to me, means it's priced in. People that are trading in significant volumes, that are smart traders,
Yeah.
know when the halvening is going to happen. They know when this increased supply is going to slow down.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that has to be priced in already. Maybe there's some movement around it just because it's a major news event, but I don't think it has the supply and demand impact that people think it will.
Does it mean that people will trade in and out of it to go into other cryptocurrencies and look for a better entry point into Bitcoin? I mean, how does Bitcoin's move compare with the other cryptocurrencies when you get this once every 4 year halvening?
Right. So I don't think the halvening itself is going to have that much of an impact. If you wanted to make a move, I think, again, it's already priced in. You could have made your move already. I don't think you need to wait for that moment. That said, I am feeling way more excitement now than I have felt any time in the last 18 months. It feels like momentum is really building in the space. Like you were saying, Bitcoin is up this week, although down in kind of the last month or so. But I think we are seeing a level of building that has happened in 2019. People are ready to ship. It feels like there's a moment of kind of everyone's putting on their jumpsuits, getting ready to go and take off. And we haven't seen that since 2017.
Let's talk about that building, because there's sort of two sides to this. One is what we see at the institutional investment level, and I feel like every day someone has some new custodial digital currency asset holding solution. And then there is the building that happens on the protocol level, which is improving the fungibility, privacy, scalability, fees, things like that. Which part was more exciting for you in 2019?
I think they're exciting in very different ways. Okay. On the custodial side and on the financialization side, that feels like just a slow march to completion. These companies are building more and more products, satisfying more and more needs of a broader and broader set of investors. There's talk sometimes of an institutional wave of capital coming in.
Yeah.
I don't see that. What I see is a slow rising tide. That as these companies continue to build products and solutions for larger institutional investors, we'll see them continue to march into the space and net inflows happening. The protocol side is a little bit lumpier. It happens in bursts. When there's a major innovation and new protocol launches, that to me is the most exciting thing that can happen in the space, but it's less certain. It's not that you know next month something's going to launch the month after that, but it's when these protocols reach completion, they reach maturity, they launch, and they gain traction. That's what we're all here for.
I covered the ETF industry as well, and I wanted to get your thoughts on a Bitcoin ETF, because people have been waiting for it, they've been applying for it, they've been registering for it, and the SEC keeps saying thanks but no thanks, or not yet. And we don't really have any indication of when that's going to come. We do have Stone Ridge Asset Management winning regulators backing for an interval fund that some say could serve as a stepping stone. It'll hold Bitcoin futures, but not the actual underlying asset. How big of a move is this? Is this critical in terms of being opening the floodgates?
I think that's the right question to ask, and I would actually compare it to the halvening that we were talking about earlier. It's built up as this major news event, that this Bitcoin ETF is going to cause huge inflows to the space. I believe that if you wanted to buy Bitcoin, you found a way already. There's enough products out there, again, futures products, certain brokerages offer Bitcoin now, and of course buying it on these large trusted spot exchanges. I don't think there's a large amount of capital waiting on the sidelines for an ETF to launch. Again, I think it'll be exciting. It will broaden access, and that's a good thing, but I don't expect to see massive inflows when that does happen.
Interesting.
Okay, so you've expressed a number of things that could arguably point to a bullish future. Halvening aside, development happening, institutional things being built out, protocol advances. On the other hand, you look at the state of crypto, and overall, it's obvious to anyone that there is just still an incredible amount of complete garbage out there. Coins that will never have any future, projects that are completely pointless. Is it give you pause on your optimism that we haven't seen more of that washout yet?
A lot of it has washed out. If you think back to 2017, CoinList itself, we've run under a dozen token sales. We've seen 3,500 inbound. And so there are thousands that have tried and failed, and now I think it's much harder for that to happen. So we're seeing less and less of the garbage. It is still there, but at the same time, investors are getting much more discerning. They're being able to tell much better. And so the scams are not having as much success as they were. And that gives me optimism. Are there still problems in the space? Absolutely, but it's slowly getting washed out.
And those inbound, desires to do token offerings of various forms, there's still interest in that?
There is absolutely still interest. What I will say is that the bottom chunk of the market has dropped out.
Got it.
So our overall volume has gone down, but the qualified lead volume, those good projects, there's about the same number today as there were in 2017, and we'll see that continuing in the future.
You heard it here first. Bitcoin is going to zero. Zero. When it comes out, zero.
Take a slide, find your zone every day.